Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depends on where you are and what time of the day you are watching this at a replay. I am here today with Natalie King, and this is the Natalie Ernie co-host show of how we are helping people to change the thinking in their mind so that they can have and know that they do have the right choices. And we came up with this in our last show, this kind of a topic. So Natalie, why don't you take it from here and let's hear from you. And before I do that, I want to let people know that we do have the eFit mini gym. Now, Natalie tells me that the people over in the UK have smaller homes, and this would be a great fit for somebody in the UK. But we do have that around the United States where people travel and they take it to hotels. Unless you have a small closet, you can put this anywhere. So you could do this just about any place, and it's under $200. And if you put my code in there, Ernie20, you'll get a $20 discount when you do that. There is shipping involved, but I can't control that. So Natalie, why don't you take it away? And today's topic is making a choice. You do have a choice. Natalie.
So thank you, Ernie. And yes, Ernie's link for that will be on my YouTube channel. So you can just click it and order this great little gadget that you can store underneath the stairs or in your toilet downstairs or whatever. It's a great gadget. Anyway, choices. Choices are very powerful, and making the choice to choose as well, which is very powerful. And quite often what happens is you sit and you do nothing, and you carry on the way you don't like your job, you maybe don't like the way that the relationship you're in or whatever it is, but you do nothing about it. That's a choice that you've made. You've chosen to not create any change. You've chosen to let things just keep going the way they're going. Is that where you want to be? Is that something that you want to just carry on in this job that makes you miserable, the relationship that makes you miserable, the area that you're living in that makes you miserable, whatever it is? Do you just want to sit there and stay in that place? Or do you want to take the active choice and make a difference and create a change? Now, Ernie and I both have come across this in our lives. We've been confronted with having to make a choice. Do we stay doing what we're doing, or do we make a choice or choose to create that change? Sounds simple, doesn't it? Don't you think it's simple, Ernie?
It does sound simple, but a lot of people like myself 15, 20 years ago, when Andy Andrews, the clean comedian and known author in the United States here, told me right to my face that your choices in life, your thinking got you where you are today. And that was kind of a slap in the face. And I knew I needed to change and I needed to make different choices, but I didn't know how. And a lot of you out there, you're wondering, all right, yeah, I'm willing to make a choice. Like I was 15, 20 years ago, I was willing to make a choice. What choice would that be? How do I make a choice to change my life? And I let outside influences affect my decisions sometimes. And I will give you a true life example of a guy named Fred that I talked about last night at another conference that I did. And I did a speech on this guy named Fred. And in fact, he was going for his master's degree in business, and he received a C for his thesis that he turned in. And the only reason why he was given a C instead of the instructor saying, well, I'd flunk you, is because of the amount of work this guy, Fred, put into it. Well, Fred didn't let that deter him. And years later, he used that thesis to make his business. His business is known today as FedEx. Back then it was Federal Express. And he actually used that paper that his professor told him was garbage, was no good, was stupid. And he only got a C because of his effort that he put into the paper. Now, this guy, Fred Smith, actually went to Chicago one week and tried to get a payroll of $29,000 from banks, and they turned them all down flatly. and he went to Las Vegas. He never gambled in his life. He saw a sign that said Las Vegas, so he went there and he gambled a blackjack table and he won $27,000 and he came back and met his payroll. And that is how the younger Federal Express, known as FedEx today, actually worked back then. So he had a choice. He could actually do what was in his mind, or he could actually ignore it, and you wouldn't even know that FedEx was in existence today, or Federal Express. Now, I'm not going to talk about the good or the bad of that company. I'm just going to tell you that people have a choice. I had a choice. And a lot of times I was squandered my choices, thinking, well, if I do this, it was fear, it was limited beliefs, so I self-sabotage myself.
So give us an example of one of the choices that you've made that have created a change, where you could have chosen to stay doing the same, or you could choose to do something different. So give us an example of a choice scenario that you've had to come up with.
I quit corporate America. I was a trainer and an executive with one of the world's largest aftermarket independent automotive industry part maker. I quit because they changed their policy and their commitment towards their people, in my opinion. So I left it with all the information that they had given me through the years. The knowledge of lean manufacturing, called just in time back then, the knowledge of statistics, all the training that I provided for that company, and saved them billions, yes, not millions, billions of dollars. And because of the way I was treated after that was the reason why I left. So I made a choice. And I went into the restaurant business and was successful from the day open till the day we closed. And the only reason why we closed is because we put in so many hours, we had to hire people to sleep for us because we didn't have time to do that. Those were some of the choices. How about
you? You had the choice to either stay with this in corporate America and just take whatever they were dishing out, or to leave with this knowledge that you gain. And that's the great thing with knowledge. It doesn't matter who you're working for or where you've been, you always take this knowledge with you. Knowledge is, once it's there, it's yours. You take it with you. You don't leave it behind. You might need to leave the paperwork behind, but that knowledge is still in there. So that's great. So that shows how different your life went or became because you made the choice to leave and not to stay. And the easy choice would have been to stay because you knew what you were doing. You had the knowledge, like you said, you even though the situation might have been uncomfortable, but it was your comfort zone, but you decided to leave, take a chance, start a restaurant. And, that could have gone in so many different directions. But the thing is quite often people don't choose to do something about it because they're in their comfort zone. They might be miserable. Just because it's a comfort zone doesn't mean it's a happy place. It's just what you know. So like you said, Ernie, you had all that knowledge from what would you say, the lean machine or something, or all this corporate knowledge, the statistics, the stuff that you had gathered. That's your comfort zone. And instead, you went into the restaurant business, which is like, whoa, hang on a minute. There's no sleep in the restaurant business. It's highly, competitive. It's a total different kettle of fish. It's a different way of working. Mm-hmm. That wasn't your comfort zone.
Well, it was and it wasn't. My wife and I worked so many hours, like I said, we didn't have time to sleep. But yet, meeting people and talking with them, it was amazing. We had this little place in west of Pueblo in Colorado, and we had, I'll give you an example. We had one couple that came in every day, and they were from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So one day, as a joke, as I was refilling their coffee, I said, "So how's Tommy James doing?" He's a famous singer and he had a famous band. And the woman says, "How do you know him?" I said, "Well, he's on the radio every day and I knew he was from Pittsburgh." She says, "Oh, I thought you were talking about his dad. They lived across the street from them back in the day." And, that was amazing. And the different types of people that you meet coming through that restaurant is truly amazing. And the people that you become friends with. And yeah, there were a couple of grumpy people that I became enemies with because after all, I'm from New Jersey, so I came with an attitude. Anyway, those different things. And the reason why I got out of that, again, is because of the amount of work. But then I went into construction business. And it was a choice that I made because I love building and I just love creating the floor plans and different things. And then the analytical part of it satisfied me, and the craving of creating what also satisfied my needs. So those are different choices that I made to better myself. But I had one choice that I didn't make. And I had already read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I was presented 3 years prior to the crash of the housing industry, of the construction market in 2008, of having a couple of different small businesses that I could have actually paid for in cash. My banker at the time was willing to give me 100% of the loan for each one of those businesses. And I said, "No, I'm having too much fun building homes." That was a choice that I made. I had mental thinking of middle class rather than world class. If I'd had the world class or high achiever, I would have purchased those businesses and then figured out how to make them work. Those are choices that you have every day, and you don't see that. And if you want to see that, you can actually have either Natalie or myself, whichever one fits your personality, to come and help you. And we can have a no conference, a no cost conference, first of all, to talk about those things for you, to see if this is comfortable for you. And I'm actually putting together right now a little mini course so that people can have it for free.
That's a really great offer.
It gives you the opportunity to see me and what I have to offer, and then decide if you want to move forward and work with me in steps or in full. Natalie, how about you?
So yeah, choices are so important. They really are. And they either get you stuck because you choose to do nothing, or they can get you to move forward. And like you said, Ernie, you could have had the choice to buy those businesses and then work them out. But the great thing is that we're always learning. We're always learning from the choices that we make. Now, not every choice might be the right choice. That's okay. It's not about being right all the time. It's about making the choices. So if you think as a business owner, how many choices or decisions have you made that have just, bombed like a rock, just thunk, nothing? And yet some of them just exploded and off they went. But it's about learning from the choices that you make. So did you just give up because it just went boonk and nothing happened? No, you've learned from it. And this is why choices are so powerful, and they're such a great way to learn. They're a great way to make the next choice then. Okay, I did A, B happened. What's my next choice, C or D? And this is why it is so important to keep looking, keep choosing, because you don't know where it's going to end up. So Ernie and I, we're doing this little talk show, which is, we're having great fun. But when Ernie said to me, "Hey, I've got this idea, why don't we co-host something?" I had a choice, yes or no. We'll see what happens. We'll see where yes takes me. So obviously I said yes. But also, if you think of, there's a really great quote from Richard Branson, and I'm not going to quote it word for word because I don't know, but the gist of it is if you're offered an opportunity, say yes, and then work out how to do this opportunity. So I always say yes, panic, oh my God, and then work out what to do with this choice that you've made. Because usually when you say yes, it means you're making the choice to create a change. And it's getting you out of that comfort zone that you're in, that you are just choosing to stay in. It gets you out of it. And then what happens? What's the next step? And this is what makes things exciting. This is what creates something different. Now, we in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in autumn. And I know there's different parts of America and the UK that experience autumn slightly differently. But look at the trees. They're changing their colors of their leaves. They're dropping their leaves. They're creating change. They're making space, because what happens in the spring? Something exciting happens in the spring. But if autumn didn't happen, if those leaves didn't get dropped, if there wasn't that change, new opportunities from spring wouldn't be available, wouldn't be able to happen. So think of making a choice as being a tree in autumn. Do you hang on to those leaves for dear life? Or do you let them drop and say, okay, let's see what happens? It's exciting.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. And, you bring about another thing, that change is consistent, whether it's the same change every year or different changes and things of that sort. And the world is torn apart today because of people's thinking. Some think, well, I think this way. Another part will say, I think that way. And people are actually polarized because of that. And their thinking. Come together and understand what the other person is thinking before you make a judgment. And I'll give you an example. I used to look at Alice Cooper, the singer, on stage as the way he portrayed himself, as thinking, well, this is some kind of a weird guy, a druggie, or what have you. And there's nothing further from the truth. Because a friend of mine that I'm going to see next month in Arizona actually interviewed him and knows him very well. And this Alice Cooper is really phenomenal. He gives and gives and gives. And what he is doing is opening up centers all over the United States to help children who would have been in gangs, to bring them out and to take them against drugs and actually help them find a life. He's offering them a choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly.
And he's made a choice as well.
Yes. So, I encourage you to look at choices. Will this choice that I make get me closer to my goal? Oh, you don't have a goal, you say. Well, maybe you ought to get one. Think about it 5 years from now. Where are you going to be? Would you like to be in a 10,000 square foot mansion? Would you like to have a jet? Would you like to have a Lamborghini? Most people on this call would think, oh man, I don't think I really want that. And yet the world-class people, the people that are despised, the rich people, are saying, how can I get that? How can I make that happen? The only thing stopping you is up here. And if you don't have what's up here, learn. I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly watching videos. Do the same thing. Otherwise, I'd be stuck. Right now, I can go anywhere I want, anywhere, and do the things that I want to do from any comfort instead of being tied down.
I think we've just got our topic for next week. Learning.
I think so.
Learning and the power of learning. And I'm not just talking about degree type of learning. I'm talking about learning that you can get from books, that you can get from experience, that you can get from ideas. And you can even get learnings from having a conversation with somebody else to see what their perceptions is or what ideas they have. So I think our next topic needs to be about learning.
I agree with you. I think that would be great because these people are thinking to themselves right now, where do I go to learn? What do I learn? And how do I learn? And Natalie and I have an idea, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that right now, because I'm going to form an online book review so that the books that we present to you next week, we will also do that in a book review. And all you have to do is get the book. And we will talk about those different things and about what each book means, because I know when I was in business years ago, people would say to me, oh, read that book. Well, I do that. I just confessed I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I didn't do the things in the book that he recommended. So I stayed stuck in my life. Now I'm not stuck anymore.
It's
Natalie, what do
taking
you
the
think?
learnings from the books. And how many books have I read that I've not done any of them?
They must be
Yes.
piled this high.
I'm not going to admit to nothing. So my question for you for next week is, what can you learn this week? What new thing can you learn? Doesn't matter what it is, big, small, doesn't matter. What new thing can you add to your knowledge base? What can you learn? And I'm just throwing out that challenge to you. And do write in the comments, let us know, email myself or Ernie, and let us know what it is that you can learn or what you would like to learn. Again, if there's a topic that you want us to cover, we are happy to cover a multitude of topics. But my challenge to you, what can you learn this week?
That's a beautiful challenge. And I recommend that everybody start wherever you are and start learning. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm not going to give you or tell you what to learn. We'll cover that next week. But in the meantime, get in the habit of learning. And if you haven't read since you've graduated from college or high school, read 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. Get in the habit of doing that. And that's what I started, a little bit every day. Now I'm in such a habit that I read constantly, except when I'm on my eFit Mini gym system, because if I sit at my computer all day and do that, I'll be so big from the amount that I eat, I'll fall over, I'll rock myself to sleep trying to get back up. So
But you can listen to books, you can do Audible, you can watch YouTube, TED Talks. There's no excuse not to learn something new. A TED Talk is what, between 15 and 20 minutes. The knowledge on TED Talk is phenomenal. YouTube, the stuff you can learn on YouTube, just Google, you can read blogs, you can listen to podcasts. There's no excuse, absolutely no excuse not to learn something new every day.
yes. And believe me, you will want to have somebody help guide you there. We'll talk about that next week. Any final thoughts before we go this week, Natalie? This is your show as much as mine.
Mine is keep making the choices, but make the choices that get you shifting, that get you moving, that get you out of that comfort zone. You do not need to stay stuck. Staying stuck is a choice that you're making. So make the other choice, move yourself. And when you start to learn something, surprising stuff will happen. But just make the choice. Don't choose to stay where you are unless you're exceptionally happy and you are creating the life that you want to be living. But if you're not, make the choice and do something about it.
I think that's well said. I'm going to tell you a quick story before we go, and it has to do with my late brother, who was younger than me at the time. Anyhow, he's been gone for 15 years, but before that, he used to be a manager at an auto body shop in Edison, New Jersey. He used to shoot pool with some guy named John. And he used to tell John, I hate you. I can't stand your music. I think you stink. I think you're lousy. I mean, my brother put him down. And then he's sitting in my mother's home in our living room, complaining to me that Bon Jovi wouldn't talk to him anymore. Well, guess what? He blamed it on the fact that Bon Jovi became famous, and no, it was because of the way he was treated. He made the choice. My brother made the choice to treat him like garbage. Don't do that. Treat your fellow human being like a fellow human being they are, just because they're different and you may not like their music or whatever. Treat them nice. Someday you may need them or they may need you. So yeah, my brother used to shoot pool with John Bon Jovi before he became famous. Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity.
Seriously. And like you said, kindness goes a long way, and you never know what somebody's potential is going to be. But just be kind. Kindness is powerful. Kindness is such a great way to go. And you don't have to like everything about them. Just be kind. Treat people with respect, because you want to be treated with respect. So that's a very powerful story. And wow, about having known John Bon Jovi. I'm sure there's like loads of people like jealous.
And this guy is great. He gives and gives and gives. And I can't wait to meet him someday, of which I will. And I want to
You get an
tell him.
autograph for me then when you meet him.
All I want to say to him is my brother's son and myself like him and like his music. And we always have. And I always did, even before I knew this about my brother and what he did to Bon Jovi. So, you know, it's a whole nother world out there if you have blinders on. Get rid of those blinders first. It will help you do that. If you have questions, put them in the comments below. If you have a question and you are afraid to put them in the comments, my email, Natalie's email, will be down below. Make sure you get a hold of us so that we can answer your questions. All we're doing is giving you information that we knew based on our lives. What about yours? You're just as important as we are, and we can help you. But we can't help you if you don't tell us what your questions are. So put them down there. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channels, because that is everything. And that'll help you stay up to date on what we do and how we do it. Now, you can make a living, or you can design a life.